Welcome, Crusader fans, to another edition of the Valpo Coaches Show, brought to you by the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority. I'm Aaron Levitt. Joining me today for season preview, softball head coach Kate Stake. Kate, thanks for being here.
Sure.
Feels kind of weird doing a softball preview show with, the 1.5 feet of snow out on the ground outside, but you guys looking forward to a trip down to Macon, Georgia this weekend, where I saw it's supposed to be in the 60s all weekend, so lucky team getting to go down there and get the season underway. How have the practices been going since you guys have come back from winter break?
They've been working really hard all season, but especially this past month. Of course, we're not owed anything for working hard, but they have been working hard, and I think hopefully that'll pay dividends when we get on the field. We haven't obviously had the opportunity to be outside too much. We've gotten to go outside on the turf a couple times. We went on our field when there was 6 inches of snow instead of 16 inches, and we had an opportunity to go practice in a dome for one day. Otherwise, it's been a lot of cage hitting and basketball courts, but with what we've had available, I think we've done a lot and gotten ourselves prepared for this weekend.
For fans who might not think about it, how does it affect your practices going into the season, especially when you're going against teams who have been outdoors all winter, to kind of be relegated to the cages, to the bullpens, to the gyms all winter long?
Well, actually, I don't mind it, maybe because I've always kind of been in an area where we've had snow, but you just kind of have to be innovative, and you get to really tackle the fundamentals and all of the small parts of the game that maybe get overlooked when you can chase down fly balls. But, when you have 40-foot ceilings, fly balls are never in the practice plan. So instead, we just make sure that our footwork's right, that our fielding is right, that we're covering the right bases and we have the right backups. So, this weekend I'm looking to be in the right place and to be doing all of the things correctly, and we'll see how some of the execution happens based on not having been on dirt, not having played without a ceiling. But we should be able to play a good brand of softball still, because we've been able to get a lot done in our cage and on the basketball courts.
Looking back to the fall season, some wins, some losses in there. Obviously, wins and losses in the fall, not really that important in the grand scheme of things. What did you learn as a first-year head coach? What did you take away from that fall season that gives you confidence in this team going forward into the spring?
It was a whirlwind. I learned their names, and I learned some of the positions they could play, and suddenly the fall was over. But I learned about their character, which was really important, because I knew how hard I could push them. I knew how hard they were going to work for me. I got to see some things by putting people in positions they hadn't played before, who have maintained those positions up until today. So we might have some new faces at some of the positions. And I learned that they were competitors. It didn't matter who was on the other side of the ball against us. We played the same way, and that's really important.
You mentioned kind of learning their names, learning their positions and stuff. A lot of learning on the other side, too, nearly half the team being freshmen coming in. Do you think it almost gives you a little bit of an advantage coming in as a first-year coach, that you have so many freshmen who maybe, don't know what to expect, haven't been, kind of trained in doing things one way at the collegiate level, and then you're trying to, change things up or make them do things differently? Do you think that's an advantage? And then also, how has it been with nearly half your team being freshmen? How have they interacted with the returning players?
Well, to your first point, I think, it sure looked like an advantage to have that many freshmen, because you had 8 people who didn't know who I was and didn't know who the former coach was, and so whatever I brought to them was the first thing they were going to have. But if I didn't know who the freshmen were and who the seniors were, I couldn't have been able to tell based on how receptive everybody across the board was to a different brand of coaching, a different person standing in the third base box. So there really hasn't been a huge divide between what the freshmen are doing and what the upperclassmen are doing. Everyone's really just bought in. Having a team that is half freshman is entertaining, I would say. It's definitely all of them, all the freshmen and all the upperclassmen have a lot of personality. It's definitely the part of practice, the part of the day that I look most forward to is practice. They give me a lot of energy. They're funny, they're smart, they work really hard. So the dynamic of having these freshmen come in and having the upperclassmen really welcome them, it's great. It's a great atmosphere every day. I really look forward to going down there.
That team coming together, the freshman returnees, heading down to Macon, Georgia for their first tournament this weekend. Obviously, a lot of early season action leading into what's really at this point the main part of the season is the Horizon League. You want to win the league, you want to host the tournament, win the league tournament to get to the NCAAs. With that in mind, what do you look to get out of these early season tournaments, and maybe specifically this first weekend? What do you want to be flying back Sunday night, having accomplished this weekend?
Well, you know, we're looking for wins for sure. We never lose sight of that, but it's also a good evaluation process for us. We get to go out there and face pitchers that aren't our own pitchers, face hitters that aren't our own hitters, and see what that hard work over the last month has brought us to, talent-wise. Really, these first couple tournaments, the results are not necessarily a reflection of, like I said, hard work. It's really a reflection of who outplayed someone in that particular day. So, you know, whatever the record is at the end of this first weekend, I think what we're going to look at is how resilient were we. If we were down an inning or down a game, how did we bounce back? Or if we were up an inning or winning a game, did we get to stay consistent through that and really play out and finish a whole 7 innings? So we'll take all that, and then we have a weekend off, which is great, so we can really plan practice around the things we did well and the things that we kind of struggled with this past weekend.
All right, well, 5 games in 3 days this weekend down in Georgia to kick off the season. Good luck down there. You can follow the team. Live links for all the games will be available at valpoathletics.com, Valpo Softball, Twitter account, Facebook, Instagram, all your social media needs. The team does a really good job keeping those up to date. So, Kate, thanks for joining me today. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Until next time, I'm Aaron Levitt. This has been the Valpo Coaches Show, brought to you by the South Shore Convention and Visitors Authority.